Nice win. The Lakers are third in the West behind Oklahoma City and San Antonio. Luka Doncic had 42 points and 12 assists. LeBron dropped 14 points and added another record to his 23-year resume. LeBron has now played in 1,229 NBA games. He moved ahead of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar last night for the most games played in NBA history, regular season and playoffs. 2 years ago, LeBron passed Kareem to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer. The Clippers lost at home last night to Portland, 114-104. Portland snapped the Clippers' 5-game winning streak. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your blood.
Follow the leader. Following the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
KBLA Talk 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. All issues Iran. On the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show because of its consequences and implications for our nation, our world, diplomacy, and the idea of coming together. It's Worldwide with Jesse Jackson Jr. on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our regular contributor, Pernica L. Da Silva, PhD, is an international scholar, practitioner in global affairs, diplomacy, media, peace building, and humanity and human security for 40 years of experiential knowledge and expertise in backroom negotiations in deeply divided societies. Currently, Professor Da Silva lectures at the School of Diplomacy and International Relations at Seton Hall University, and he's also visiting professor at the Faculty of Humanities at Solj Plate University, Kimberley, South Africa. I'm also honored in this particular hour that Dr. Da Silva has brought an extraordinary guest with him. John Besuru is a seasoned security professional and former British Army officer with more than 3 decades of experience in military service, international advisory roles, and strategic security concerns, operations across Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. Gentlemen, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse. Glad to be on the show.
PL, listen, the President of the United States is addressing the nation tonight on the war in Iran. I certainly thought at the very outset of the conflict that he may have made a statement, provided a mission, provided goals and objectives at the beginning of the conflict, convincing the American people that this was a worthwhile venture. But something tells me every single day, both John and PL, that Donald Trump doesn't get to declare the end of this conflict. And he seems to be unilaterally declaring how long it's going to last. PL, why don't we initially begin with you? Your thoughts on the length of this conflict and just how deep and pervasive and problematic this unilateral action by the United States and Israel has been.
Yes, I mean, Donald Trump, Benjamin Netanyahu into this war, and now he's behaving like a cat on a hot tin roof. He doesn't know. He wants to get off that roof, but the roof is rather large, and he's really hurting, and it's going to scupper his chances in the midterm elections. And as my dear friend Yahya Ghanem said, he's a very well-known Egyptian journalist. He wrote an op-ed in TRT News. He said, the Iranians have the clock and time is on their side.
Pio, what does he mean by that? That seems to suggest that while the generals are on national television and international television here in the United States making the argument that they have substantially degraded Iran's capacity to defend itself, let alone conduct offensive actions or any kind of actions in the region, and that Donald Trump is now saying that there are only a few weeks left in this conflict, you seem to suggest that time is on their side. What does that mean in terms of the length of the conflict?
It means the longer the Iranians drag this out, the worse it is for Israel and the United States. And despite what currently serving generals may say, we need to listen to the veteran CIA and military officers who have really served in different theaters of warfare and held high office. And all of them are saying that the United States, if we deploy troops, whether they're Marines or 82nd Airborne or whatever, in Iran, it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be like the Dardanelles. It's going to be like, Market Garden, a bridge too far. In Arnhem, I wrote an op-ed in at the beginning of all this in Al Jazeera Arabic, saying that this is a bridge too far for the Israelis and the United States. And the reason is this: the force structure of the United States has not changed since World War II. They're still trying to fight a 20th century war where a blue water navy and aircraft carriers project power. But we are in the 21st century. The Iranians are fighting quite a different war. They have got missile superiority, hypersonic missiles, and drones, and they are hitting the Israelis at will, and also United States bases, which according to the experts are 90% degraded in the region. The United States aircraft carriers are staying between 1,300 and 1,600 nautical miles away from Iran because they do not want to be hit by these hypersonic missiles, which could sink them. I've said this previously. And therefore, that negates the aircraft on the aircraft carriers because their range is 600 miles, right? So 300 going, 300 coming. And then when the Iranians take out 8 KC-135 refueling tankers, how on earth are you going to get your F-35s to get across into Iranian territory? They're actually staying away from Iranian territory and firing, JASSM, glide bombs and others, but not actually, plastering the Iranians over Iranian territory. And these are the facts on the ground. Whatever Hegseth may say, whatever Trump may say, I would say that they are lying to the American people and the world at large.
John, we have about 2 minutes before we come forward. That means our break on our show. About a minute, I'm being told by our producer right now. John, can you give us just a brief recap, and then we'll have a much longer segment when we come forward on whether or not it's going to be more difficult for the United States and what few allies we do have engaged in this conflict to get out. Easier to get in than to get out. John?
Yeah, of course. Apologies for that. I'm, as I say, in Nigeria. We've just had a power cut, so the gen will kick in shortly. And we will, the camera will come with light. So, but yeah, absolutely.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More with PL De Silva and John Bisuru when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-345-2789. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems. And if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-345-2789. That's 800-345-2789 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-345-2789.
Ready to celebrate? Hop into Easter festivities with everything you need at Target. First, get ready for your special occasion with 25% off stylish looks. With spring vibes, vibrant colors, and fresh florals, you'll find outfits that match everyone's style. Then, fill up their baskets with endless joy. From select Easter plushies to fun toys they'll love at 20% off. Don't miss out. Make this Easter unforgettable at Target.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like a warehouse operations manager.
Where are the forklifts?
Sold them. Too expensive. We're using scooters now.
So you expect us to move a 2-ton pallet on a scooter?
Just lean into it. Put your back into it, people.
This is your job for sponsored jobs. This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
Paid for by government. The 1986 to 2021 United States Silver Eagle, the first ever U.S. silver dollar minted in 99.9% pure silver and is the best-selling coin in the world. These original and historic silver dollars have ceased production forever. They will never be minted again. For a limited time only, full pound bags of original U.S. government-struck silver dollars are being released to the public. You can own a full pound of original U.S. silver dollar coins featuring Lady Liberty and the heraldic eagle, never to be struck again. Guaranteed. Call now to secure original United States Silver Eagles by the pound. The first U.S. silver dollars ever to be struck in 99.9% pure silver. Plus, receive a free bonus, an American Collector's Pack valued at over $40 and free shipping with every order. Call 1-800-560-6468 now to secure your full pound bag of United States Silver Eagle coins before they are gone. That's 1-800-560-6468.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our two very special guests are our regular contributor, Dr. P.L. Da Silva, and John Bisiru, seasoned security professional and former British Army officer with more than 3 decades of experience. John, let me ask you a question. I don't know who to believe, and I don't think the American people know who to believe either. Now, I believe P.L. Da Silva because I know him to be a seasoned security expert and operative, particularly in issues of backroom diplomacy. But John, if you were speaking to the American people tonight, and we're going to have our president addressing the nation, and you had to deliver the truth to the American people, John, what would it sound like?
Thank you, Jesse. I mean, as Dr. Da Silva said, the important thing that I seized on was the quote, you have the time, we have the watchers. And that was exactly what the Taliban realized when there was the war in Afghanistan, that they could just run down the clock. And with the war costing the best part of $200 million a day, time was on their side. But also, I mean, as you said, Jesse, what's really important, I think, and this is actually a really seismic moment in our lives, with the announcement or the president's speech tonight, which I think is really the starting gun being fired on NATO. And Rubio has been laying the ground on that. And I think that this will be seen as a betrayal of Europe and the rest of the world with respect to this conflict that was initiated by by the US on Iran. And if you have a good plan, what I would say to the US people is that if you have a good plan, it doesn't necessitate a good outcome. But if you have no plan, and what I've seen is that there seems to be no plan in terms of how this would be launched and what the end state would be. If you look at the Iraq war, there was 6 months of General Powell particularly trying to deliver the coalition of the willing. The US committed 150,000 troops. The UK committed 45,000 troops. The rest of the other nations committed, another 50-odd thousand. So there was massive capability to try and win that war. This is going to be inordinately more complicated. It's a far bigger terrain. It's a more hostile terrain. There's a depth of support, not necessarily a breadth of support, but a depth of support that goes with the Iranian regime and the IRGC. Another thing that I would say, and this is less to the people, but more to the US government, is that in order to prosecute a successful war, the success of that is dependent upon the amount of support that you have in your society. If you look at World War II, there was 97% support by the US populace for fighting Nazi Germany. I understand that in the US, support for this is somewhere around 40-odd%. So there isn't actually the support there for this. And also, it's going to be very, very difficult for the allies to come and assist. And this is against really a political backdrop where allies have been consistently insulted by this administration. I mean, just, recent examples, President Trump's description of MBS a couple of days ago, which I won't demean your show with, Jesse, describing the British Prime Minister as no Churchill. Other allies who fought alongside America in Iraq and Afghanistan being told that actually they were not involved in the conflict. 457 Brits died in that conflict alongside the Americans. And then bear in mind, of course, that it was the US that triggered Article 5 that led to that conflict being initiated. So at a political level, I think it's going to be very difficult for the US to get any political support from Europe. And then economically as well, in terms of military support, the US, will be alone in this because Europe is weakened. We've had the war in Ukraine, which has been very heavy financially, but also in terms of what the ordnance store cupboard looks like for European countries. Prior to that, we had COVID, again, with significant payments being made to the people to support them during this time. For UK and, directly affecting the UK, but also impacting Europe as well, we had Brexit. And before that, we had the financial crisis. So Europe financially is really weakened. And then, of course, we're currently engaged in Ukraine. So, and there is this feeling of, why is Iran more important than Ukraine? Iran was actually strategically extremely weak. It had been boxed in. There were the time clock was running down for the regime, and now it's now getting stronger. The IRGC and the government, I think it was put into legislation, are going to be charging $2 million per tanker to go through the Straits of Hormuz. And they will use that funds, or those funds, to rebuild their regime, rebuild their military capabilities. And all of that is, to the detriment of the rest of the world, and particularly Europe and the Gulf states. So, I think that for the American people to hope that Europe can assist in providing some sort of military support or assist in delivering an off-ramp, I really don't see it, I'm afraid.
It's clear to me that if John were delivering the state of this conflict to the American people tonight, that he would clearly be delivering it with greater clarity and succinctness and accuracy than the President of the United States. PL, tonight I expect a lot of bluster. I expect a lot of talk about our capabilities, about what we've managed to do since the conflict itself began. But I don't see a way out, given that you made the argument at the top of the show that the clock is not on our side. How much longer can the regime survive? And how much longer can the Iranian people survive under the threat of the oppressive nature of what America is doing along with Israel? Israel is still a very uncomfortable neighbor in the region, and those politics don't change just because Donald Trump decides to pack up and leave.
No, you're absolutely right, Jesse. You're absolutely right. I mean, to address Israel and its capabilities, Israel, for the last decade plus, has been involved in a conflict focused on the Iranian proxies. So the Houthis, Hezbollah, the Assad regime, etc. And that has taken, and obviously Gaza, and that has really taken its toll on the Israeli military. And a couple of days ago, there was a statement made by, I think, the head of the IDF, stating that they were at breaking point. They were exhausted. They do not have the capacity to continue to prosecute this conflict. They called up 300,000 people. I understand that there was a 35% no-show in terms of those reservists that were due to attend. Subsequently, there was another call-up of 400,000 reservists. There was, again, a similar level of no-show. So I think that whilst this war in Israel started off to be a popular war, there were questions raised about how the war was being prosecuted in Gaza and the Lebanon, but Iran was seen as an existential threat to Israel. And so consequently, there was this initial support, but they assumed they would be living under the protective umbrella of David Sling, Patriot, and other missile defense systems.
Iron Dome, exactly. The other Arrow 1, Arrow 2, all of these systems but those have now been exhausted. Iran has followed the strategy that Russia did in the Ukraine war, that you have missile superiority, and it's not about air superiority, it's about missile superiority now. And you saturate their air defenses. So a Shahad drone is $20,000 to $30,000 to build, but it's a $4 million effort to bring it down. You require 2 missiles, each costing around $2 million. So that's going to, the economics are there in terms of how sustainable that is, as well as the manufacturing capacity to deal with those. And that's been evidenced, the weakness there by South Korea being stripped of its Patriot batteries. I think Germany's also been hit as well in terms of the ordnance that has been pulled out through Ramstein to support Israel. So, Europe and NATO, the eastern front of NATO has in effect been stripped bare. So, the missile superiority is there, and that is what Russia has successfully done. But also, you need to understand, I say amateurs talk tactics, professionals talk logistics.
That's the old saying. And to undertake a war like this, you require 3 times the manpower. You require 5 times the platforms, artillery or whatever, other systems, and 16 times the ammunition. Those are the old rules of thumb in order of how you are going to mount an offensive operation. And I just don't see Israel or the US having that. Iran is vast. So I think the quartermaster's cupboard is looking pretty bare at the moment.
PL, we're about to just about 3 minutes before we come forward. I do want to ask you the same question. What can we expect to hear from the President of the United States tonight? I think John did an extraordinary job of giving us an initial sense of it. Today we have on KBLA Talk 1580 our policy experts, what we should be hearing from the President of the United States. PL, we have about 2.5 minutes before we come forward.
President Trump is going to manipulate the markets. And I think that's his primary concern. He's not concerned about whether young Americans go and die in Iran. He doesn't care about squandering billions of dollars, So the US is going to lose blood and treasure for his hubris. And what he really cares about is the greenback. And he has now made this grandiose speech saying that we are retreating actually in 2 to 3 weeks time. And the markets all these casino guys, it's like a casino economy. They're just waiting on what Trump says. But the problem is that every word that comes out of his mouth is a lie. And it's not true. He's delusional, truly. He's truly delusional, but he's quite geared in towards manipulating the markets. And you can see how friends and family and friends have been making money on Polymarket and Kalshi, the betting site, the political betting sites, which is a criminal offense. They should be in jail for insider trading.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guests, Dr. P.L. Da Silva and John Basuro, will be with us when we come forward. But just before we do, I got another 10 seconds. I don't expect to hear anything from the President of the United States that makes as much sense as what I just heard from our 2 policy experts right here at KBLA. More when we come forward on KBLA 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell says the NFL will continue enforcing the Rooney Rule despite a potential lawsuit from Florida's Attorney General.
The Rooney Rule's been around a long time. We've evolved it. We've changed it.
The policy requires teams to interview minority candidates for top jobs, and Goodell says the league plans to engage on concerns that it could lead to race-based decision-making. Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass has unveiled a new 53-unit affordable housing project for veterans in West LA near the VA Medical Center. The development is part of a larger push to expand housing, with thousands of units underway through her initiative to streamline approvals. And rapper Megan Thee Stallion is recovering after becoming ill during her Broadway performance Tuesday night. She was taken to a hospital where doctors treated her for exhaustion, dehydration, and low metabolic levels. Her team says she has since been discharged and is expected to return to the show Thursday. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Are you looking for your next European adventure? Think Poland. From its historic cities to all of the UNESCO landmarks and its incredible food. Modern, safe, welcoming. Get inspired at Poland.travel.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers won their 4th straight and 50th game of the season Monday night. They beat Cleveland 127-113 at Crypto.com. The surging Lakers are 13-1 in their last 14 games and were 15-2 in March. They also clinched a playoff spot in the Western Conference with last night's win. The Lakers are 3rd in the West behind Oklahoma City and San Antonio. Luka Doncic had 42 points and 12 assists. LeBron dropped 14 points and added another record to his 23-year resume. LeBron has now played in 1,229 NBA games. He moved ahead of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar last night for the most games played in NBA history, regular season and playoffs. 2 years ago, LeBron passed Kareem to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer. The Clippers lost at home last night to Portland, 114-104. Portland snapped the Clippers' 5-game winning streak. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
We're at Doolin's on Crenshaw. It's a special place where the neighborhood comes together. Got the fried chicken, the catfish, the candied yams, the mac and cheese. It's all delicious. I'm Isaac Bryan. I represent the Crenshaw District in the California State Legislature, and I'm supporting Tom Steyer for governor of California. California is under attack, and we need a fighter who's going to come in on day one and stand up for California values and push back. That person is Tom Steyer. Tom and I have been fighting together for the better part of a decade. Tom is the only candidate supported by smart justice, because Tom has stood on the front lines of racial justice, economic justice, and true solidarity. Tom is the real deal. He's the only candidate in the race with a comprehensive plan to make the billionaires and the corporations pay their fair share so we can fund things like universal health care and education. He means what he says, and he does what we need. This is a moment when we've got to fight fire with fire, and I believe that fire is Tom Steyer.
Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. Less than 24 hours before a planned California governor's debate, USC and KABC Television Channel 7 pulled the plug after a week of growing outrage that not a single candidate of color had been invited to participate. USC says it was just math, polling numbers, fundraising totals, nothing personal. But here's the problem with that argument. Every one of the 6 candidates who made the cut was white, and every one of the candidates left out was not. At some point, the outcome is the message, regardless of the formula that produced it. The 4 excluded candidates, former U.S. Health Secretary Javier Becerra, former L.A. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, former State Controller Betty Yee, and State Superintendent Tony Thurmond, are not fringe figures. These are people who've won major statewide elections and served millions of Californians. Here's the deeper lesson. California is one of the most diverse states in the nation. Latino voters, Black voters, and Asian American voters don't just live here. We decide elections here. When the people organizing a debate about California's future build a stage that looks nothing like California, they're not just making a scheduling error, they're sending a signal about whose voice matters. Even some of the invited candidates called on USC to expand the field, ostensibly because they understood what was at stake. That said, it is worth noting that none of the invited candidates had the courage to stand in solidarity with people of color and bow out of participating in the debate. But we'll leave that alone for now. Canceling the debate was not a victory. It was damage control. The real lesson is that diversity cannot be an afterthought in the criteria. It has to be baked into the thinking from the very beginning. Voters of color are not a special interest. We are the electorate. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. As always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. P.L. Da Silva is a regular contributor at Al Jazeera Net, Q News, Cairo, Egypt Satellite TV channel broadcasting in English 24/7, Al Kahira News, Cairo, Egyptian Satellite TV channel broadcasting in Arabic 24/7, Interpress, NIPS, and Depth News. Dr. Da Silva, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse. Glad to be on the show.
And John Basiru, after completing a master's degree in defense economics at the University of York in 1997 and further training in finance and business management at the University of Westminster in 1998, John moved into the private security sector. John, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse. It's a pleasure.
Gentlemen, we have about 6, maybe 7 minutes in this segment before we come to the top of the show after our next break. I did want to ask this question since PL raised it about the president's speech likely tonight having something to do, obviously, with bluster and lies, but also with market manipulation. It's clear to me, John, in this conflict that the Iranians do not have the ballistic capacity to reach the continental United States. So that's not necessarily something that we're talking about. Obviously, they can strike out at our allies in the region. According to Dr. Da Silva and yourself, great damage is actually occurring to our interest in the region as a result of the vastness of Iran. But they also have something that we haven't quite seen before, a third world country that too is interested in market outcome. And so when we think about Karg Island, we think about the Marines who the Iranians have suggested they are going to burn should they enter or land on Iranian territory. And we think about the number and percentage of oil that actually hits the global market through Karg Island and the size of Karg Island. Is it quite possible that the Iranians are setting a trap for the Americans and for the global economy should the Americans land on that island? John?
Absolutely. I mean, the ramifications of this are going to be so significant. I mean, just to revert back to your initial comment, Jesse, the old saying, and it's, I don't think, ever been truer than it is today, that the first casualty of war is always the truth. And we really are seeing that. But in terms of what is going to happen, should the Americans commit further, and also the impacts on the rest of the world, I think it's fair to say that the immediate shock that we're seeing now is essentially on the oil and gas markets. Sorry, we've lost power. But I think what we also need to realize is that there is going to be a much deeper shock that's going to come from the lack of movement of downstream chemicals, which are used in fertilizer, and also the subsequent industrial disruption that's going to result from that. You mentioned also that Iran's ballistic missiles are unable to reach the US. And that's absolutely true. But as Dr. Da Silva said, the most important thing to this administration are the financial markets and the infrastructure that has been devastated in the Gulf region, the oil infrastructure and other facilities, port facilities, transport facilities, air hubs, financial infrastructure. that is going to take a significant amount of time to be rebuilt. But even when that's rebuilt, the other impact is credibility. And I think that the US will have lost credibility with its allies and around the world. So whilst the Gulf is carrying at the moment the greatest pain, Europe and the rest of the world will still feel the financial aftershocks of this. So, and also, I mean, the other thing to remember is, the US has a very, very significant military-industrial complex, which, is developed over decades. But the reason that industrial complex has become so powerful and matured in the way it has is that people generally buy weapons from those that they fight with. And the US has always been seen as a reliable and trusted ally. And I don't see that being the situation anymore. So whilst Europe and other countries may well spend much more on defense, reaching their 3% GDP targets on defense, I see an ever shrinking percentage of that being spent on US products. And that was also a bit of the quid pro quo with Europe and America's allies, that, we didn't spend quite so much of our GDP on defense, but what we did spend, a significant proportion of that went to the US. And I think that as this war accelerates, which I think it will, because you need two parties to agree a truce. And we'll see, and Iran shows absolutely no interest in participating in a peace process. There are too many unanswered questions that, such as, unfreezing of assets, reparations for war damages, their missile capability and the continuation of that. So, their regional proxies, what happens in Gaza, places like that. None of these things have been addressed. So I think this is way more complicated, and as I said earlier, I don't see any of this being addressed in tonight's speech by the president.
PL, the disruption of global oil supplies should the Marines land at Karg Island and the Iranians choose to, well, not only defend it, but also potentially directly target global markets by disrupting global oil supplies for at least a decade.
So the thing is this, it's just not what we see up front, right? Oil and gas, fertilizers, feedstocks, and food stuffs getting into the Gulf. It's also the bond markets. The US bond markets, if this thing goes south, and it very well will go south, and what would happen then is, if the interest rate goes up above 5%, which it has and then came down, and it has the potential of going further up above 5%, it means that the United States, the ability to borrow and do debt servicing becomes well nigh impossible. And that is the thing that's going to strangle the United States economy and the Trump administration. And that there are no quick fixes for things like that. And the only way truly out of this morass is to negotiate in good faith with mediators who are willing to play honest brokers, and all this bombastic stuff and saber rattling and moving troops here and there, and hoping that he can stay on for another 3 weeks till the George Herbert Walker Bush aircraft carrier arrives in theater. This is a drowning man clutching at straws. And none of this is going to help stabilize the situation and also the global economy.
Peel, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We have two of the most important policy experts in the world on the subject matter of what's taking place in the Gulf. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is dedicated to inspiring youth and resilience through storytelling, arts, filmmaking, and enrichment programs for youth and families in under-resourced communities and system-impacted individuals. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit providing free and low-cost arts programs to youth and families from under-resourced communities, both system-impacted youth and those affected by the incarceration of a loved one. 1 in 43 children in America have a parent incarcerated. 70% of those children are expected to end up in prison. Through filmmaking, animation, theater, and writing, they help young people express themselves, build confidence, and imagine new possibilities. Beyond the arts, they offer financial literacy workshops, emergency support, and scholarships. Because thriving takes more than talent, it takes access. To learn more about the impact of Michael Daughters Foundation and how you can be a part of the movement, please visit their website, michaelsdaughterfoundation.com. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs. What if your rooftop could earn you money every year? With LADWP's Solar Rooftops program, you can get solar panels installed and maintained on your home at no cost and earn up to $900 a year. That's up to $18,000 over 20 years. There are no upfront costs, no credit checks, and no annual fees. Plus, you'll help power Los Angeles with clean local solar energy and reduce reliance on fossil fuels. Make your rooftop work for you. Apply today at ladwp.com/solar rooftops.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA Talk 1580 stands with you in fighting for the rights of black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars working collectively to improve the position of the black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare black workers for employment in high-wage career track jobs. The LA Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. And they are advocating for a fair deal for black workers in the new Los Angeles City Charter. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing, or learn about union apprenticeship programs and trade registries, please visit lablackworkercenter.org. That's lablackworkercenter.org. Together, we can beat the black jobs crisis and build a more equitable Los Angeles. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We've had an exciting program with Peel De Silva and John Bisiru, seasoned security experts, both of them in backroom diplomacy and service to their respective nations. Gentlemen, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse.
I do want to make this one point before we take our final question and of course, hopefully close on a word of hope. In Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech Beyond Vietnam, he made the point that the resources, PL, that we need domestically in the United States, after a brief war on poverty, addressing housing and healthcare and the jobs crisis here in the United States, he raised a profound concern that those resources were now being used to bomb peasants in Vietnam, and therefore he could no longer be silent. The resources that we need for the Affordable Care Act, the resources that we need for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, the resources that we need to rebuild communities here in the United States are now being spent to the tune of $1 billion a day in Iran, with a request from the President of the United States for an additional $200 billion. And suddenly this Congress can't find money to expand the Affordable Care Act to include dental, to include hearing, to include vision in the Affordable Care Act, because the resources are available for the conflict overseas, but they are not available for domestic programs here in the United States. And Dr. King became particularly unpopular when he raised these points. PL, I see the same dilemma today, because having just completed a campaign for Congress myself, I was winning in my congressional race on the economy. I knew the district better. I knew some of the aspects of the district that needed to be connected to the global economy. And for the first time, maybe in the history of the South Side of Chicago, I actually led a campaign on connecting people to the global economy. But in the last 90 days of the campaign, the massive amount of spending that came in from the outside, particularly the non-transparent spending that came in from the outside, was directly tied to this conflict in the Middle East. And yes, it was determinative in congressional races across this country. PL, should we be concerned going into the midterms with what's taking place in the Middle East?
This is the play of the 1% Epstein class. These are the billionaire friends of the president. And Epstein, don't forget, is a massive global Mossad operation, because no one man could have created such a vast network to penetrate the United States government from top to bottom, and also the royal families of Europe and the UK, and also their parliaments and their parliamentarians and prime ministers, and their army commanders, if I'm just thinking about Norway. So all of this is the work of the 1% Epstein class. And it's like Miriam Adelson and AIPAC and others who have been buying off our legislators for decades. And now they're calling in all the investments, so-called investments, quote unquote, which is basically corruption, and wanting America to support the illegal settler colony in the Middle East, which is Israel, and their crazy Zionist expansionist agenda, of a greater Israel, which is pretty much like, Hitler's Lebensraum, that he wants living space, living room. And it's the same kind of blood and soil, Blut und Boden, that the Nazis waged, that the Zionists, the extreme right under Netanyahu, are waging in trying to kill all the Palestinians, kill the Lebanese, kill the Syrians, the Afghans, and the Iranians. I mean, there's no. It's so short-sighted and doomed to failure, but they are messianic and crazy enough to go through with it.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask John our final question, if I might, PL. John, you've been a patriot for your country. You've been a security professional. You've studied international affairs and defense tactics, as well as economies around the world. Is there hope in this moment for the idea of diplomacy and multilateralism in resolving conflicts in the general area of peace and justice? John, our final thoughts with the final 4 minutes of our program.
Sure. Thank you, Jesse. I mean, as at the moment, in order for negotiations to occur, there has to be trust between the parties. And when negotiations were happening the last time, when the US used their B-2 fleet to strike Iran's nuclear facilities, negotiations were underway. There were talks. And it's the old adage, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. So I think it will be very difficult for Iran to actually trust the US in any negotiations. Then, of course, you've got to find a mediator. I mean, the Pakistanis have come forward as possible mediators, but I think there's a level of distrust between Iran and Pakistan over and I think that originated from the vessels that Iran let out through Pakistan, but actually found their way to the US. And the other mediator in the region, Qatar, obviously has been embroiled extensively in this conflict, with its LNG plants being damaged. I mean, that I think is going to be, near enough $20 billion to rebuild, plus the time that it's been down, which will be years. And there's obviously the opportunity cost and lost revenue that goes with that. The Omanis or the Turks are possible negotiators in this, and we can only pray that that a peaceful way can be found forward to end this conflict. But the other thing is that it's really not in Iran's interest for this to happen. They've humiliated America. Really sad as I am to say it. In terms of how this conflict has unfolded, they are in the ascendancy, whether we like it or not. They are now receiving revenues, letting ships through the Straits of Hormuz. Any dissent in Iran is not really talked about now. So they are in a very, very strong position. So and to come back, to how we opened the show, the Americans have the watches, Iran has the time. So I can't see, sadly, and it pains me to say it, any immediate or short-term resolution to this problem.
John Becerra has been our very special guest. Becerra, I'm going to get that right, Madam. Becerra. And Dr. P.L. Da Silva have been our guest in this hour. I'm so grateful, gentlemen, for both of you for your contribution and helping us have a lens by which we interpret the President of the United States' speech tonight before the nation and before the world. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, Jesse.
Thank you so much.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward right here on KBLA.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell says the NFL will continue enforcing the Rooney Rule despite a potential lawsuit from Florida's Attorney General.
The Rooney Rule's been around a long time. We've evolved it. We've changed it.
The policy requires teams to interview minority candidates for top jobs, and Goodell says the league plans to engage on concerns that it could lead to race-based decision-making. Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass has unveiled a new 53-unit affordable housing project for veterans in West LA near the VA Medical Center. The development is part of a larger push to expand housing, with thousands of units underway through her initiative to streamline approvals. And rapper Megan Thee Stallion is recovering after becoming ill during her Broadway performance Tuesday night. She was taken to a hospital where doctors treated her for exhaustion, dehydration, and low metabolic levels. Her team says she has since been discharged and is expected to return to the show Thursday. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Are you looking for your next European adventure? Think Poland. From its historic cities to all of the UNESCO landmarks and it's incredible food. Modern, safe, welcoming. Get inspired at Poland.travel.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers won their fourth straight and 50th game of the season Monday night. They beat Cleveland 127-113 at Crypto.com. The surging Lakers are 13-1 in their last 14 games and were 15-2 in March. They also clinched a playoff spot in the Western Conference with last night's win. The Lakers are third in the West behind Oklahoma City and San Antonio. Luka Doncic had 42 points and 12 assists. LeBron dropped 14 points and added another record to his 23-year resume. LeBron has now played in 1,229 NBA games. He moved ahead of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar last night for the most games played in NBA history, regular season and playoffs. 2 years ago, LeBron passed Kareem to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer. The Clippers lost at home last night to Portland 114-104. Portland snapped the Clippers' 5-game winning streak. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure at KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.